Hey everyone, welcome to the Matt and Matthew Show. My name is Matt Cremona.
And I'm Matthew Morris.
And I'm coming to you from my shop here in frosty cold Minnesota.
And I'm here in sunny Southern California. And Matt, why don't you tell us where everybody can find you?
You can find me and everything that I do on my website at mattcremona.com.
And how about your YouTube channel and your Instagram feed?
You can get all the links to all of my things right from my website there. I have all the links for all of my different things. You can hit me up on my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My YouTube channel is my big one. You can find me in all those places, and you can get links to all those things on my website at mattcremona.com.
Perfect. Same thing for me, guys. You can go to mmwoodstudio.com and grab my YouTube channel, Instagram, all that fun and crazy stuff. So, hey Matt, what's going on with your secretary?
I'm really glad you asked that because I know how much I love talking about that thing. So today, actually, I spent the afternoon in the shop and I worked on fitting the doors into the case. Now, the interesting thing about these doors is they are partially recessed into the case themselves with a rabbet that runs around three sides of the door. So I spent the day working on getting this rabbet to fit nicely into the opening. And the interesting thing with these rabbets are the left or the right side is a different depth than the top and bottom. And actually the top is deeper than the bottom one as well. So it was a very interesting experience trying to keep all these different rabbets in the right order. And then the middle style gets a lap joint. And on one of the doors, obviously the lap is on, or the rabbet's going to be on the bottom or on the inside, and then the other door is going to be on the front. So keeping everything straight, it was a very interesting experience, but I got them all fit to the case now. All I have to do is install the hinges and the doors will be hung. How about you? How's that Scotch cabinet coming?
Pretty good so far. I got a little crazy. I'm building two at the same time. So right now where I'm at is I've milled up all of the sides for the cabinets. And then yesterday I was working on the sliding dovetail joinery. So both the top shelf and the bottoms all come together with sliding dovetails. And that's pretty much where I am so far. Hopefully later today, if not tomorrow, I'll be able to jump back on the project, but that's where I am today. So we are here today to talk about a topic, and every time we do a show, we're going to try to cover a new topic. So why don't you tell us about today's topic, Matt?
Today's topic is really interesting. I'm really excited to talk to you about it. Today we're going to be talking about the tool path, if you should go right to a premium tool, or if you should take a upgrade path. So that would be buying a cheaper tool and then gradually buying a better and better tool until you get to the premium level tool.
So do you have any stories you want to share with us?
So for most of the tools in my shop, or the categories of tools in my shop, I have done the upgrade path just because financially that made more sense at the time. I would rather buy a cheaper tool with the intention of upgrading it later on than living with not having that tool at all. So like for my jointer, my planer, I started out with a small benchtop combo machine. It was a jointer and a planer. And then from there, I upgraded to my jointer that I have right now. That was a big jump. And I also upgraded to a lunchbox style planer, the DeWalt 735. And then when that kind of fell down, or actually it died, and that prompted me to get the 15-inch floor standing planer I have right now. But on the other side of things, on my hand tool side, the new tools that I buy, they're going to be premium from the start. So like my shoulder plane here, I wouldn't buy, personally, I wouldn't spend the money on a cheap hand plane that was manufactured today. They just don't have that same quality as something that, even an antique that you find out in the world these days, that was once a premium tool in most cases, and you can get those at a discount. And all it needs is a little bit of rehabbing to get them back to their premium status again. But I would not ever buy an old tool that was never a premium tool, just because you'd be basically setting yourself up for failure. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, I think. So I'm on my fourth jointer, my third planer, and you know, when I started woodworking, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to need something that's bigger than maybe just a small little guy. So I went out and I bought some benchtop combo machine. And I won't say who made it, but basically when it got shipped to me via Amazon, the tables, instead of being coplanar, they were more like a triangle.
Nice.
So, yeah, exactly. So after spending all this money and then dealing with Amazon, I was like, okay, well, I want to buy something that I can return locally. And I didn't have, where I live, a good woodworking store nearby at the time, Woodcraft or Rockler or anything else like that. So I ended up going to Sears and I bought a 6-inch, their professional line jointer. And the only reason I don't actually still have that, because it was a really great machine, is I just don't have room in this shop for it. In the old shop I had room for it, but not in this one. So after that I did more and more woodworking, and I really just want to get into larger pieces, and I bought a combo machine from a company that used to have green colored stuff that now has blue colored stuff. And the problem with that was it was a beautiful machine. It worked well for a while, except the tables are attached to the body of the machine with 6 bolts on each side, 3 on each side, so 12 in total. And eventually the in-feed table became lower in the back than the out-feed table. And every 4 to 6 months I was readjusting the tables so they're coplanar. And after a couple of years of that, I was just done with that. And I eventually upgraded to the Hammer A331 that I have now. And I'm really hoping that that's good for the next 20 years. I don't want to do that again. Bandsaw wise, I have 2 bandsaws. I have my Laguna, and I used to have a Craftsman bandsaw. Same thing, when I started, I bought another Sears product because it was nearby. If I had any issues, I could just return it to the Sears nearby. And that was a great bandsaw too. Just once again, didn't have room when I came to from out of the commercial space into the shop behind the house. Hand tools. Once I started moving into hand tools, I just bought the best I could buy at the time. And if I couldn't afford it, I saved up and then I purchased it then.
What are your thoughts on buying used tools? Have you bought any used tools?
The bandsaw was used. That was someone got into woodworking and they were in the Navy, and it wasn't used long much, and they got changed to a different port or base or whatever, and they had to sell it. So I picked it up from him, and it was in really good shape to start with. So that's the only experience I've had purchasing used tools. I have sold many used tools, like a 6-inch Craftsman jointer and that green to blue 12-inch combo machine. And I try to be as upfront as possible when I sell them and tell them what the problems are or aren't with the machines. Have you bought a lot of used stuff, Matt?
I've bought a few used things, but I brought up the used tools because I think it goes really, really well, hand in hand with this upgrade pathway. The nice thing about buying a used tool is that the previous owner, assuming they're the first owner, they basically pay the depreciation on that tool. So when you pick up a planer or whatever for, half off of what you would pay for a brand new one, when you go to sell that planer again, you're almost guaranteed to recoup that whole cost that you had to buy that machine. So for instance, when I bought my lathe here, I bought that one used, but I also bought the previous one used as well. And I paid, I sold it for exactly the same price that I paid for originally. So I didn't have to have any of that cost of depreciation. It's like kind of like saving up for the bigger machine, because you're putting that money towards the bigger future machine because you're not going to lose any money in depreciation. So I think that's a really valuable little thing to remember when you're buying used tools. It's that you're not really going to pay for that depreciation as you would like on a brand new tool or something. It's that old saying, once you drive the car off the lot, it's worth, whatever, $1,000 less just because you bought it.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. My great-grandmother used to have this saying, which was, if you always buy the best, you only cry once. And I guess for me personally, I screwed up. I should have just bought the Hammer to start with. When I got that other combo machine, I was looking at the Hammer, and the difference was $2,000. $2,000 for that machine, $4,000 for the Hammer after shipping. And I ended up spending $2,000, but I only got maybe $500 or $600 when I sold it. to put it towards the $4,000 machine.
Yeah.
So personally, I think I just should have jumped in and gone all the way, because at that point I had already been woodworking for a number of years. At that point, I knew what I wanted. I was just trying to save a couple dollars, and in the end, in retrospect, it wasn't the best thing for me to do. Now, I have had 1, 2, 3, 4. I have had 6 different dust collectors.
Really?
Yeah. So at this point, I probably could have taken all the money from the 6 and just bought a Cyclone. And that's my fault too, because like this dust right, I have the Rockler dust right that's on the wall, and it doesn't really. If you're doing maple or anything else that creates those nice large chips out of the jointer or the planer, it can't handle it. So, because that gate, they have that gate there that's supposed to protect the machine from large debris or items getting into where the fans are. So I always cut the gates off. And then somehow I'm cleaning something on the floor. Next thing you know, there's this big bang and a boom, and that's it. Yeah, and then I got to drive down somewhere, and I'm out another $200. So at this point, I'm trying to baby this one, get a little bit of time on it, but I probably should have just bought a Cyclone to start with.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's got that 2-stage separation. So even if I did that, that material would just drop into the bucket, and I wouldn't have that problem that I'm having, or have had way too many times.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem with the single-stage collectors. They are just the most terrible design, just by nature. Everything going into that filter is terrible. That filter gets clogged up, at least on mine, it gets clogged up so fast, and then it's pretty much worthless because it has no suction anymore. I have to be over there beating on the filter, getting them cleaned out all the time. I should have just bought a Cyclone to begin with. Now, I mean, you can like modify these things to have a baffle, which should help, or you could add a pre-separator to it. But really all you're doing is just making yourself a Cyclone, because you're really just adding that second stage of filtration to it. That's pre-separation is nothing more than the cyclonic chamber of a Cyclone. So one way or another, you're going to get to that Cyclone point, whether you buy it outright or you kind of Frankenstein your way to getting there.
Now let me ask you, I know a number of people who have done the upgrade path on table saws. Have you done that too?
Actually, no. The table saw I have now is the first one that I bought, and it's still there. I still use it. I mean, just like everyone else, you always wish for bigger, better tools just because, bigger is better or nicer is better or whatever. But it served me well. I've had it for, the 6 years that I've been woodworking now, and it works fine. Maybe someday I'll upgrade it, but it's definitely not high on my list of tools that I need to upgrade, for sure.
Okay. And is yours a Contractor Saw?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, mine too. I have the SawStop Contractor Saw, and when I bought this, they only had 2 models at that time, which was the industrial and the Contractor Saw. And it was the same thing. It was a price thing. I wanted to get I like my fingers a lot, and I don't want to get into the debate, guys, about this. I have no desire to get into the debate. Just for me, there was two different levels of models for the manufacturer I was interested in. It was either the high end or the low end, which was still pretty high end. And, and it's a good saw. It's got a 1.75 horse motor, and I'll baby it on thicker stock, like 2 inches or up to 3, where I'll come in and it's a workaround, right? So I'll come in and just cut something, a 1/16 of an inch off what the final dimension is, and let the machine get bogged down a little bit, and then I'll come back in and just take off the rest of the remaining material, and it has no problem.
Sure. So
maybe it's a little bit of waste, but at least that's how I'm getting around it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the things that we do in our shops. They can be workarounds to a lot of things. The first thing that comes to mind for me is like, flattening things that don't fit in your jointer. And there's plenty of ways to get around that. Maybe a planer sled, or using a router sled to flatten something as well. I mean, that's the kind of fun thing about woodworking, is that you don't have to be limited by your tools. there's ways around it that are just less efficient, but cost less.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we had to sum this whole conversation up, what would you come away with this? What would you want the audience to come away with this?
I would say if you have the money, and which is rare, but if you have the money, that's awesome. Just go all out the first time. It's going to be a lot easier. You're going to have a lot less headaches along the way. But for most people that need to be a little more budget concerned, I would say buy the used tool route. You know, but not all the way down to like the bottom of the barrel tools. I would buy like a nice sort of mid-ish range tool and then work your way up from there. And that's the way that I went, and it's worked really well for me, mostly because of that depreciation thing I mentioned. Because you're really basically saving up for that bigger machine that whole time, and you get to use a machine that is, you know, somewhat useful compared to that bigger one. So instead of like me saving up for my 12-inch jointer for, you know, however many years, 6 years, saving up for it, if I invested $300 in a $300 jointer 6 years ago, if I can sell that for $300 today as well, that's $300 towards my 12-inch jointer, and I've been able to use a jointer for the whole 6 years as well.
Yeah, so I think for me, Matt, I know I never really thought about your thoughts on the used tools before as far as the depreciation. I've never gone that way, and I think it's a really interesting idea. For a reason, it just never occurred to me. But yeah, if you could definitely get a machine that serves your purpose, you're not spending the full amount for the new, that's great. If you can afford it, personally, I think you should just maybe make the jump, and not as many jumps as I did. You know, 4 jointer planers. 4 jointers is a little bit too much. Maybe just 2. You know, a 6 and a 12. But you know, if you really find yourself passionate about this, which is thing that we love, which is woodworking, then I would just jump in personally. But you may have to get approval from the wife on that one. And as far as hand tools, I think you should just start get the best tools you can. Now that may mean you get older tools and you recondition them, or you go out and you buy Lee Nielsen or Lee Valley Veritas tools. Either one, they're both fantastic pieces, but I would personally try to go that route on the hand tool part. So guys, we are looking for you guys to ask us questions, because we want to have a Q&A section to the show as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the discussion on the video. And of course, we want you to subscribe to the channel, share it with all of your friends, and subscribe to both Matt's channel and my own. And do you have anything else to add, Matt?
Yeah, as Matthew was saying, please, this is really about you guys. So the more questions or topic suggestions that you give us, the more the content we can produce. This is going to be a really fun show that we're going to continue doing, and I think it's going to be fun to see what direction this whole thing goes in. So if you have those questions, those topic suggestions, leave those down below. Subscribe to us, follow us on the social medias, and it'll be fun, I promise.
Awesome. We'll see you guys soon.
See ya. Thanks for watching.
Bye.